Harder Brunch presents Back to Adult Summer Camp.
Sponsored by Upland Brewing and Culinary Crossroads.
August 23rd through the 25th.
We have comedian headliners Kelly Collette and Dwight Simmons.
We got musical acts Draco, Sirius Black, Philosophy of Music, and Tuesday Atlas.
Activities like archery, canoeing, campfire, swimming, crafts. Don't forget to get your tickets at eventbrite.com.
Harder Brunch. Nope, we're not going to say that together, but it's Harder Brunch.
I'm eating brunch with my people though. The homie Dyke just cooked up a feast and we bout to eat it, bro. Fucked around and has to mix the lobster with the poutine. Daddy is rolling blue dream, them boys got down a routine. It's Naptown culture, cooking 7 courses. Had to pass the torch and now I'm grabbing second portion. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a smoke. It's Harder Brunch on the way and get prepared for the jokes. Whoa.
Hi, and welcome to the Harder Brunch Podcast. I'm your host, Dyke Michaels. With me, as always, my co-host, Thaddaeus Mckee.
Slap me, baby, wait.
On the ones and twos, the wheels of steel, the sauce boss of Indianapolis, and the last broke dragon. Give it up for Zach Rohn, everybody.
Hee-haw. No love.
And a very special first-time guest with us in studio, podcaster, broadcaster. I feel like you wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, I'm really tired.
Political commentator,
Yeah.
Chris Spangle. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me. Lunch was delicious. This has been a whole experience.
Yeah, that's that's what we like to do here. We ply you with food and whatever Thad talks about up there.
Well, I'm glad you walked down because I was about to get Kevin Spacey. I think.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you're not supposed to tell you. Come out. What we say off camera is private.
Sorry. All right.
As we always know.
Yeah, the first rule of Kevin Spacey time is we don't talk about Kevin Spacey time.
Yeah. It's a good...
You almost got K-Paxed.
Man, I don't like this character at all.
You think that ham jello was free?
I'm always down for yes anding, but when I'm the Kevin Spacey character. No, you said it was an experience. That's a neutral thing. Was it a good experience or a bad experience? Uh-oh, that got really silent.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with good.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was fun.
There is a gun off camera that you guys can't see.
Yeah. No, it's really great. I love your whole vibe. I love this is like a whole in-person experience. You get to know everybody before you actually do the show. When you guest on podcasts, you walk in and you just sort of don't know anything about each other, and then you're sort of, so tell me about your project or tell me about your book or whatever. You sort of know what you Googled, and maybe hopefully you're praying they have a Wikipedia page. I don't. So you guys would be lost. So at least we got to sit around for a couple hours and talk, and I think that just makes such a better podcast. You're so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
So what you guys do, I think, is really cool.
I forget sometimes because we do this every week almost,
Right.
So it just kind of becomes second nature for us.
Yeah.
And when I've gone on to other people's podcasts before, I've had experience where when I've gone in and not even offered a water.
Sorry.
And I'm just we're about to talk for at least an hour.
Yeah.
And I also, when I first started, I was drinking a lot more heavily than I do now. And I walk in, I was very confused about how people podcasted without beer at first.
Right,
I was like, wait, there's no beer here? How are we going to talk to each other for an hour?
Speaking of beer, the beer I like to podcast with is Two Tarts. It's a Upland Brewery, and if you're ready to get down, get up.
Upland Brewery. They're one of our sponsors for Adult Summer Camp this year.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That could
Nice.
be a nice little plug.
Yeah, if you come to summer camp, you can drink Upland Brew all weekend long.
Are they sponsoring it this
They're
year?
sponsoring it, and it's all inclusive.
All inclusive?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just going to say, but how
Who
do you,
could chill worse?
how do you, that's like a whole experience, the meal that you cook. You guys do this every Sunday. Don't you get tired? That's a lot of...
It's like a Post Malone stay tired kind of thing.
Okay, all right, yeah.
No, I think we have. So there's a separation of duties, right? So like Zach and I are back of the house very much.
Yeah.
Dad is the front of the house. Neither Zach and I would probably be good at carrying on a conversation with a lot of times complete strangers every week.
Yeah.
And that's where Thad really thrives.
That's very personable.
You can drop him into a mix with anybody. I would be like, what else?
Yeah. I think you and I are like, I don't know if you're a little introverted, but yeah, you know, I walked in, you're like, hey. I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
And then thank God Tennant was there.
I'm also very like task focused too.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm cooking, he's entertaining, you know, like, and then Zach and I mean, we've been doing this for years now where we just definitely have a routine. Like we talk early in the week about the guest, who's coming on, what kind of theme we want to try for the week. And then we'll like touch base as the days go on. All right, I think I'm going to make something like this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And then the day before, it's like, oh, what are you really making?
Do you focus more on the meal or do you focus more on the actual interview?
That's a good question.
Definitely the meal. No, I mean, so the thing.
Well, like it's like build it and they'll come.
No, so I feel like what you said was really like that's what sold me on it. So I came on as a guest originally, and we did these Bloody Marys, and we had it was not as extended as it is now, but we definitely had more than an hour to talk and drink and hang out.
Right.
And you're right, you get out all the bullshit out of the way, and you get out all the basic interview questions. So I think that if you make the brunch, if you focus all your energy to the brunch, then you have things to talk about.
Yeah. Because when I walked in, I'm like, oh, that's so many people I don't know, and I haven't seen Tennant in 10 years. I think we said hi. So it's like, so when you go on a podcast, you have to perform, but it's just much easier, I think, when you've kind of shared a meal and had those conversations. It's nice lubricant.
Yeah,
you guys are good at that.
It's disarming. And I also try to keep in mind. So when I say like we put more effort into, I typically am the main person who does the booking, or I'll take requests or whatever from whoever
the podcast
suggestions,
top, if you will.
So usually I already, like, if I've invited you on here, I already have a list of questions. Like I already wanting to get to know this person better,
right?
Or I want to put a microphone up for something that I know that they're doing, or a little bit of both.
Well, because I thought, man, I'm gonna go over and hang out with Dyke and Zach, and then I never saw you guys again.
Yeah.
You like brought me some food, I think, but I didn't see you.
I have that where people are kind of disappointed at the very beginning, like, oh, Dyke's not going to be out here. Like, okay. And so I feel like I'm like catfishing them or reverse blind dating. And it's like, okay.
I like to just pop in every now and then. If I could get one zinger in per, I don't think I got one in today.
No, you did, yeah. Somebody, we were talking about transubstantiation, and you said, we don't talk about trans in this house.
He did say that on record.
I'm glad that's the one that made it on the air.
Yeah.
Out of all the stances that got taken at brunch today.
Yeah, and then there's always talk about people like, well, how come you don't have cameras up there and get all that? That's great stuff. And I'm like, it's great stuff. I don't know if it would be as great and as fun if you had a camera in your face.
Nope, it'd be performative. It wouldn't be
the whole time. Yeah.
Like there is a thing about this show that the listeners will never quite get. It was like the experience that happens upstairs before we start rolling cameras. But I think they get it.
Oh, sorry.
I think they get it by how loose we typically are when we get down here.
Around the table, everybody's trying to get something in or like make a joke, but there's not pressure to do that. Where if you had cameras up there, everybody at that table would have been trying to get in jokes. Right. Everybody would have been trying to be the man or the woman, right? Like there's, especially with comics or podcasters or entertainers of any kind, that pressure to look good or to perform well is always going to be there.
You said that the listeners are missing out and they will never actually get that, but I actually think they do get that experience if you go to camp. And this isn't just a pitch where I'm trying to get you to buy a ticket to camp, but like it would be a good time to do that. But like if you go to camp, you're actually getting that experience where you're getting to hang out with all of us in different ways and then seeing all of our friends that come to the table. Like, you have Daryl that did like shows during the campfire at our table. Like, so you're actually getting the Harder Brunch experience when you come to camp.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that you've been a big proponent about. I feel like we haven't done a proper introduction of that.
Yeah, nobody knows who the hell I am.
Well, did you see what he did when he sat down? He like kind of took over the podcast. That's how good he is. He started interviewing us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, he did it.
We've talked about Harder Brunch for 15 minutes. Haven't asked one question.
I literally thought in my head, I was like, do not turn this into an interview of them. This is their show. Shut your mouth.
Oh my word.
I love that happened.
I've hosted probably 4,000 hours of podcasts. I mean, I've done podcasts since 2007, and so I have a tendency to like ask questions, partially because I don't like to talk about myself, but also I'm comfortable doing that, and so it's, I'm curious about people, and then I was like, let's start talking about Harder Brunch, and then we won't have to talk about me. But
I mean, and it's a very easy trap to fall into.
Yeah.
And then you know what else we did that was cool? But no, like so you work for the Bob and Tom program.
Yep, I'm their digital director, so I manage the web department. So podcasting, video, social media, websites, audio and video encoding, like mobile apps, whatever. That all falls under the purview of what I do. I work with Noah Haler and Jeff Oskey, who you guys might know.
Oh, yeah.
Great guys, and that's the core of the team there. Nick Rohrman, you may know him a little bit, but...
Bob Rohrman's son?
Yes. And our job is to take the... Not really. To take the radio show and just to put it online, and I've been there a decade, and it's been a great education and a ton of fun to get... to see I wanted to work there when I grew up. I was 8 years old, and that was my dream to work in radio at the Bob and Tom show.
Yeah,
and I've been able to do it. So
it's funny because like I've taken like comedians there to do the show or whatever.
Yeah,
like from like through Helium or whatever, and they're kind of like, I gotta go do morning radio, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I'm at the Bob and Tom show.
I could just get 1 minute on there, right?
I was like. And it was like same thing. Grew up with them.
Yeah.
I remember my grandma just hated Bob and Tom. My grandma was just like, she was French and very opinionated, and she was just like, Michael, it is disgusting.
All Dad talks about is how we smoke.
But like that was like my memories from like being in like high school and stuff. Was like listening to Bob and Tom on the way to school in the morning and just cracking up. And
so my dad and I have two things in common. It's Bob and Tom, which he's I don't listen to that anymore. They don't curse enough, and then the race. So which
race?
He's really into Asians. It's crazy. Okay. No, the motor speedway. And so when I worked in politics before, especially libertarian politics, he's like, "There's no money here. What are you doing?" And then when I got the job at Bob and Tom, he's like, "I'm proud of you, son. Like, your career makes sense to me now."
How old are you?
40.
Okay. Yeah, you said you've been podcasting since you were 8?
I listened to them since I've been a podcaster since 07.
Okay.
Right. I've listened to Bob and Tom since I was a little kid. But I knew at 8 years old I wanted to be in radio.
Yeah.
I want to be in radio, but they won't have me anymore. After Bob and Tom, it just isn't an industry. It doesn't exist. But I was sitting on the front lawn of my house listening to War of the Worlds. And it wasn't like this cognitively defined, but the H.G. Wells, Orson Welles redid the novel and scared the whole country.
Yeah.
And aliens landing, and he did it like a regular radio broadcast.
Under attack.
I remember listening in like the 90s just going, anything that is 70 years old and can scare you to death. What a powerful medium. I loved listening to talk radio with my grandma. I listened to the radio with my dad. Like, radio was just like this central thing in my life. And I also wasn't a very popular kid. And I kind of recognize now that even because I didn't have a lot of friends, I kind of supplanted that with comedians and with Bob and Tom. That felt like a community, which is why I love podcasting and like what you guys are doing, because as kind of a lonely kid who just sort of had like entertainment as a friend, it really kind of shaped why I love this medium.
You said you're an only child.
I have a brother and sister. They just hate me. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're close. But I just, I don't know if you guys weren't unpopular in school, but I was.
Like, were you popular in school?
I feel like I had both experiences. I feel like I switched high schools midstream. So I started off as kind of, I'm definitely always a nerdy kid.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was like the nerdy kid who got bullied at the first high school.
Yeah.
And the second one, I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself. And I'm the guy that smokes weed.
That's my story. Yeah. I was, not that, the weed part, but no friends in like middle school. Yeah. But when I got to high school, in 8th grade, kids started to kind of laugh at jokes. So I told jokes every day. I had the joke of the day. Kids would come up, girls would come up and ask me for a joke.
You were fun.
And so by the end of senior year, I wasn't a popular kid, but I got along with everybody, and I had friends, and it was kind of jokes just because I loved comedy records. We were talking about Bill Cosby. I memorized one of his albums. I memorized the Class Clown by Carlin.
Which album by Cosby? There's one that in particular that's like will get you friends instantly.
I think it's himself.
Bill Cosby has himself.
Yeah. And then the one that's kind of younger but black and white cover. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I must have had some Jello in one of his shots. Blacking out here.
Yeah, I mean, in high school, like if back in my day, you had to smoke weed or be able to tell jokes to fit in, or be able to shoot hoops, or be a little bit not mind long distance.
Yeah,
actually, the track cross country kids, they were nerds too.
Yeah,
but like that's how you fit in back in the day.
Nerds
it was like
have
the
it
80s.
easy now.
Oh yeah,
nerds don't know what us nerds went through.
Yeah, they don't know the struggle.
No,
they don't know
what are nerds going through right now?
Nerds are going through. They're in charge of everything. Yeah. They probably run all the clubs because the jocks need a website. Like I bet they're killing
hot girls like to cosplay as nerds.
Right? Yeah.
So do you think the jocks are now the
lowest on the total? Yeah, forget that.
Well, they have concussions now. They have CTE.
Yeah.
They can barely speak.
That makes sense.
Football is a very dangerous sport.
Well, Chris, it's very interesting that you say that when you talk about being a lonely kid and then like getting friends as an adult, because to look at you, you would not assume, I don't think most people would assume by looking at you that you are invited to the cookout.
I somehow ended up at the cookout, being the whitest person.
You are very comfortable around black people.
I walked in and got a little uncomfortable, but the stretch was very tall.
Yeah.
It was funny because I don't you typically think of the racial background of people that I invite over. I was just like, oh, podcasting friend. And then I was just like, man, I invited all minorities and Chris Spangle. I was like, I gotta get one, and so I invited Tyler, who he's also a big libertarian guy.
Oh,
and I was like, yeah, you should get it, and he just didn't show up.
He didn't show up.
Yeah,
he saw the list.
Oh, we had a great time. No, I've been doing the Pat Down with Miss Pat for 5 years, and if you don't know comedian Miss Pat, look her up because she's going to be one of the most famous comedians of all time. Like, she's such a hard worker. She's so naturally talented. She's also a great person, just a good friend. Like, we've become great friends over the last 5 years doing a podcast, which is, there's no way, like, if you looked at paper and said, all right, this white kid from Plainfield that is very uncomfortable around black people is going to be friends with Miss Pat, who's, guest hosting the Breakfast Club now, right? Like, it wouldn't work on paper, but that's one of the great things about podcasting is it just builds these friendships that you might not have if you didn't have that shared project. So she grew up in Atlanta, in inner city Atlanta, in pretty tough circumstances, and then moved to my hometown of Plainfield, Indiana. And so when I was there in the 90s, I mean, it was 98% white, 2% Muslim. I don't know that I had a black classmate.
Yeah.
And then my brother actually was best friends with her son, Nikea.
Okay.
But I never met Pat. Apparently she came to our house and was at my brother's open house, and she's like, white mamas love their kids. She had so many pictures of you ugly little white babies. But we became friends with Bob and Tom, and she wanted to start a podcast, and I'd been podcasting for a long time, and Joe Rogan had told her, if you start this, and so I went out to her house, and she said, you want to co-host this with me? And I thought it was just coming to like help her get this set up, and then I was going to bounce. I didn't anticipate that I'd be a co-host and do this for 5 years, go to comedy festivals across the country and Montreal, and then end up on BET. Which, Thaddaeus.
Yeah.
What did you do on BET?
I was on the celebrity jury. Everybody laughs. I do too. So Miss Pat Settles It is a TV show that she does. So she went in there and killed it with the Miss Pat show, and then they were developing a court show, like a Judge Judy type show.
Yeah.
Where it's just these insane cases and people, and it's currently airing right now Wednesdays on BET at 10 p.m. And you can see it on, I think the reruns are on a BET Plus.
But someone's about to get sued again.
Yeah. So
dang it.
I got this call from just a random person who said they were with BET, so I entertained it, and they're like, would you like to audition? This is like almost 2 years ago. I was like, okay, maybe it's like something. But then Pat never mentioned it. Dion never mentioned it. Dion Curry, if you know him.
Yeah.
And then I'm talking to this guy he had like a filing cabinet behind him on a Zoom, and he's like auditioning me and asking me about being white. Like he was also white. And I was like, I feel like I'm being punked.
Yeah.
This isn't real. And then they invited me out to be in the pilot, and I was like, yeah, something's not right here. So I thought it was all a prank. And then, so I text Jasmine, Miss Pat's assistant, was like, is Pat going, before I give my flight information, is Pat going to LA next week to shoot it? But she said yes. So I went out there, shot the pilot, and I made it through. And like, there are really good comedians and people that like, I guess I did well enough to get to season 1. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting next to Ray J.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah.
Between
Did you ask him about it?
The second season is, yeah. Oh, no, because here's the thing with Ray J. You know it. He knows that you've seen it.
Yeah.
And he knows everybody else in the room has seen it.
Yeah.
And he knows that his is bigger than yours. At least in my case. And so you don't know how he feels about the tape and all that. Now I kind of know because I shot season 2 with him, and I've heard him talk about how much money he makes off of that tape. Still.
Oh, he's still banking.
Oh, he's still making money. Yeah.
Man, we need a Harder Brunch sex tape.
Yeah.
We're all
Ben?
3 of us.
Come on, buddy.
I don't think the
that
residuals
was
on
my
that would
cousin.
look like you want them to look.
Hey, when I get cut out here, you want views or not?
Do you know how many people just threw up in their mouths?
Wait.
So if you look at the jury here, it's like they put me in the middle, and then you've got
for those of you at home, there's a Brady Bunch style cube with all black people and Chris Spangle in the middle with the sign that says the jury.
who was wearing the same Brooks that he wore that I bought special. I bought special brand new Brooks to wear to that set so I didn't look so poor. And so, yeah, like D-Ray Davis is one of the funniest people I've ever met. Carmen, to my right, is hilarious. Jordan Cooper. Garyana, Miss Pat's daughter's up in the top right. She's hilarious. Yeah, like, I think that's DC. I can't remember his last name, but he's super funny. But that's season 1.
This looks amazing.
It is because...
Wait, is that what the show's called?
Miss Pat settles it.
Miss Pat settles it.
And
Yeah.
so it's real people with real cases, with real beefs between each other. And the first case was a guy broke up with a girl, so he and his uncle went back over and took the transmission out of her car that he had put in when they were dating. Okay. And
that's how you do it.
Yeah, so you have to like figure out who owes what, and so we weigh in and we make jokes, and yeah, it was a blast.
I wonder who you would vote for, because we went on a little jury, a little court case, little thing.
We went on a show called Relative Justice.
Where we are cousins.
Because we're cousins.
Okay, cousins. I didn't know that. All right.
We're legally TV cousins.
Okay. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, we had a lot of that, I think, where, it's, are you really telling the truth? Are you really fighting? But, yeah.
There's a lot of, what do they call it? Plausible deniability on that show.
Yeah, so I have, like, all these separate lives. It's really weird because I have, like, my political life from my libertarian days, and then I have my Miss Pat world, which is, like, a very different one, and then my Bob and Tom, which is, like, rural boomers, libertarians, young white guys, pat down, large black, female progressive audience.
Yeah.
And then, I have a business doing podcasting, and so that's, like, upper crust people with money. So it's like, and then when those people find out I'm on BET, they just can't stand it. They think it's hilarious. Every other group thinks it's hilarious, and then the pat down people are happy for me.
I love that.
I mean, yeah.
I'll go to these business meetings. I'm like, and one person inevitably who knows me, who's kind of my age, will go, "What TV station do you think he's on?"
Let's play. Yeah, people are probably winning a lot of money in bets.
They're thinking CNN because of the politics, or
so
maybe
funny.
like, I don't know, but not BET. Never the first guess.
That would have been my top 10.
No,
that is great. Well, so you've kind of for a long time been kind of like celebrity adjacent. Working with Bob and Tom, you get a lot of big name comics and people coming through there.
I worked at the Speedway on their PR staff. I worked with Rupert from Survivor with the tie-dye when he ran for governor. Yeah, I'm always kind of been a behind the scenes guy. So it's been like a fun career getting to see race car drivers, politicians, comedians, now celebrities. It's, I don't consider myself to be famous in any way, shape, or form. I get to do cool things like this and come and talk to you guys. And I do think I am funny, and I do have like a measure of talent. Otherwise I wouldn't have been selected to do these things. But I've just been very fortunate in that I've met great people, become good friends with them, and that's turned into opportunities. And I think it's just that way in every business. It's that way in comedy. People, I think when you're younger, you think, I've got to have this unbelievable amount of talent to be the greatest comedian or race car driver or whatever. It turns out if you want to be successful in anything, you just have to get along with people, treat them well, be helpful. Being a good friend can lead to opportunities if you have the right set of skills for a particular thing.
Yeah,
right?
hit that applause button. That's so good.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's been starting in radio and being into technology, like starting my high school AV club with friends, and like knowing social media got me the job at Bob and Tom. Knowing podcasting got me the opportunity with Pat. With Rupert, it was knowing organization and helping him with his charity. And so like just being of service to some of these folks, because everybody's always trying to use a person who has some power, money, fame, whatever. If you're just helpful, it's I don't go looking for opportunities. It's just, with Pat, it was like, I can help with your website. I can help with your podcast.
Yeah.
And then she along the way realized, he's kind of funny, and we have great conversations, and that's just how it develops sometimes.
Man, one of my favorite things about Miss Pat was when she went on that Burt Kreischer show, The Cabin.
Yeah.
And she just, the whole episode's hilarious, but she clowns that Kelly
Cuoco.
Yeah, I never pronounce her name right, but who at the time was the highest paid TV actor on the planet.
And she said, your show's not funny. And Kaylee fucking hates her to this day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that show, she blames that show episode for killing her show on HBO.
Oh, really?
She blames that episode, which is not true.
You can't just blame Miss Pat.
But
if it was true, that's even better. Like if your appearance on an episode of a show killed in another show entirely, why would you admit to that?
It's not. I don't think I was supposed to say that out loud, but I probably know too much. But like that's the truth. Like she took that really hard, and I don't know if Pat understood how much that like was gonna blow up and how that affected like Coco and her, and I don't know, but
these are jokes, and that's what
it was. It was funny.
Yeah, that's what I'd call a true pat down. You know what I'm saying? Like that's knocking
dude.
Off the show.
When Pat was in the water,
oh my word,
is knee deep. I was hollering.
Yes.
I don't know. That's the funny thing is being friends with people who have like Bob and Tom and all those folks and Pat. You see things and you like, I don't know. It's just when I go to her house, we're hanging out. When I work for Tom's my boss.
Yeah.
Like I got that job because I helped him with his iPhone. Right. And then he's like, this kid knows some technology. And then we kept talking, and then that turned into a job opportunity. But, it's just people. And then it does, you can look at any celebrity. You can tell a celebrity who they really are. They tell you. Right. Like, if you watch that Netflix documentary about the radio DJ who was like in charge of the children's hospital for nefarious reasons, like Jimmy something, he goes out and tells on himself. Subway Jared tells on himself every chance he gets, every TV appearance, right? Like this pastor, the biggest church that just resigned because it found out that he was molesting a 12-year-old when he was 20. He mentions her name in a sermon. Like I think if you watch somebody and you're a fan of somebody, you see their heart. And yes, you can build a character. Thaddaeus is a character, but it's really based on who that person is in their heart.
Yeah, I'm Santa Claus.
Yeah. There's only one person I've ever seen. It was a race car driver that everybody thought was awesome, who was kind of a dick behind the scenes. Not anymore. He's a nice guy
dead.
now.
Will you tell us?
I thought you were going to say he's dead.
Yes.
Nice.
But he was the one guy that had everybody fooled that I'd never seen anybody pull it off. But everybody just thought he was the greatest. Now he's very nice and has changed a lot in 20 years.
One of my favorite thing to do is ask the servers at comedy clubs who's the biggest problem, because they have no problem telling you. They'll be like and this guy's a bad tipper.
He's a bad tipper. He's got a big penis. He's blah blah blah. That was a waitress joke.
Yeah. Well. There is some of that going on. Still in the year of our Lord 2024. You know what? It's time for a Tinker coffee break. Are you not a coffee drinker?
You guys have so many sponsors on this. So I need to get some advice from you guys. Damn. What do? Ask?
I did try to force the coffee upon you when you got here.
I don't drink coffee.
You're a water guy.
I'm a water guy. I will have some Lincoln Square orange juice.
Okay.
I go crazy sometimes and might have a Coke. But
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But no coffee, no tea?
No, my wife is like a coffee and tea addict. She drinks it all the time, but not me. It missed me.
Well, we're still going to do the.
I'm fat and sweaty. Okay, look, nothing against Tinker. We bought some Tinker last week. I'm just fat and sweat a lot, and so anything.
Can we make
hot,
that the ad?
Yeah.
Nothing against Tinker.
Nothing
Bought some last
just
week.
fat and sweaty and a hot beverage. I can't even in the middle of winter. I'll start breaking out some pitting.
Well, I'm
sorry to run your sponsor.
No,
by the
it's
way.
fine.
Sorry,
They
Tinker.
get to pay us either way. No, I'm actually gonna go brew a cup, and then we'll be right back.
This is good.
This week on the After Brunch Podcast.
The vibe where I was like, oh, she's on the edge of flashing her titties. And I looked at Dyke, and like he did one of these shoulder shrugs. Kind of like, if this is your personality, and she's like, hey. She's like, it is, and then she showed him.
That was her dipping her toe.
Join us at patreon.com/Harder Brunch.
Like, it's just ridiculous because I'm gonna be so craggy, and you guys will look so supple.
I like both of those words equally. So I feel like they're a good counterbalance.
That sounds like a great cartoon, Craggy and Supple.
But I feel like you don't look 40 though.
Thank you.
Like,
I drink a gallon of water a day, and I have
Yeah.
since high school. And I think that's the key: is just hydrate.
This is good podcast.
Yeah, when you were
material.
like, I literally thought you said I've been podcasting since I was 8, and I was like, is this motherfucker like 25? I was like, I know he looks young, but wow, he's really young.
Could you imagine?
And then you said 40. I was like, now I'm really confused.
All the dumb things that I said when I was 35 that I have behind a paywall now.
Don't you love that paywall?
I love that paywall. It keeps people from finding all the things that I don't mean anymore.
I don't mean anymore.
And we're the exact, I'd probably say the polar opposite of a political podcast. I kind of went on a thing because we pretty much started in 2020.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to kind of cover certain topics because I feel like most comics just all have the same take on it.
Yeah, right.
And I was just like,
We get it, a center-left comedian. Brave.
Yeah. And so I was just kind of like,
Not judging, not assuming you're politics, but that's what I see. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, John Oliver again. Got it.
and so I was just like, there's people that do it way better. And I was like, I feel like we would just be for the next 4 years rehashing and kicking around the thing. And it was just like, I'm not going to like, if you started bringing up Trump or whatever, I'm not gonna be like, Joey, don't say that, but like it's just not where most of our conversations went.
Yeah.
But it's also too is like none of us are super political people either.
Yeah, right.
So I felt I'm like, I don't feel.
It's one of the smartest decisions Tom ever made at Bob and Tom. We're not talking politics. Mm-hmm. And so when Trump got elected in 2016, we're just moving away from it. We're not gonna, and it's been such a fun oasis for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I'm a very political, like that's the thing that I'm most interested in. Like that's the thing that I really, like I was training to be a talk radio show host. Like that was my career path. Although I don't consider that to be my career path anymore. Like it's, so people be like, hey, this guy shouldn't be tweeting this. And they've stuck by me and said, you can do whatever you need to do. And
Really?
It's been, yeah.
I mean, the guy from BET?
Yeah, right.
Well, and and I feel like you've said this before, and tell me if I'm misquoting you or got it wrong, but I feel like I've heard you say on something before that befriending Miss Pat kind of changed your politics.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say changed my politics.
Or your views on certain things.
The way that the libertarian movement kind of has gone very populist, right-wing, Trumpy. And that really didn't happen to me. And so I had one of the bigger libertarian podcasts, for whatever that's worth, up until about 2019, 2020, probably 2021. And then I just kind of like popularity went, and I stopped trying as hard. I'll be honest. But once we got to the pandemic and everybody was very pro-Trump and the movement is so much more pro-Trump than I am, I'm like still like an orthodox libertarian. Like, I just think that the basis of government is force and it's monopolized violence. If government says to do something, you don't have a choice. You're going to get put in jail or bankrupted by taxes and fines and fees. And so we have to like really choose what we do politically as a society, and everybody should have some say in it, right? In some particular way. So I'm very much a liberal democratic capitalist, like, and that's just not the libertarian movement anymore. And I think had I not met Miss Pat, and really not even Pat as much, Dion and I have a lot more deeper and have had a lot more deeper conversations, but it's the audience, because the audience is largely black or largely white progressive females.
Okay.
And that is not a population online that I had been trafficking in, right? Okay, it was libertarian dudes who look like me, or
a lot of Pepe memes,
or like boomer conservatives, right? And so I think we're very much a product of, we're very like, formation is a word that I think about a lot. Like, we're very formed by what we see. It's the medieval idea in Christianity of catechism. What you repeat over and over is what you end up believing. And so what you log on and look at on a daily basis really forms what you think a lot. So that's why you see guys who listen to certain programs have a lot of like Russian disinformation, right? They're being formed by that. And so I think for me, breaking out of that echo chamber at a very crucial time when I became much more curious about the world in a different way, because I realized, like, doing the Pat Down and talking with Pat, who comes from a fundamentally different culture than I do. You know, if you're white in America, you just think there's a culture. If you are anything else, you realize there's your culture and white culture. And it sort of opened my eyes to kind of go, all right, what else am I not understanding? Where am I kind of just assuming this is the correct view?
Man, that's so good.
White Americans love comfort and they love to be right.
Pizza.
Pizza, yes. But Little Caesars. But, you know, it's a thing that I fight all the time of, like, I love to prove I'm right. I don't necessarily, but I don't see that in the Pat Down audiences and the friends that I have that I've made that are black. Like, I don't know that there's this need to prove that I am right, that my assumptions are correct. And so I think I used to go out and look for information that confirmed those biases. I've kind of become a worst podcaster because it's not that I don't know what I believe, it's that I've become way less confident. Like, we were talking about the character before.
Yeah.
I used to be just hitting it on We Are Libertarians because I was very confident in what I believed. And I don't have that same confidence anymore. So I struggle to kind of come out and say, this is the right way to think about things. I give my opinion, but I'm not going to tell you this is the right way to do things, which is fundamentally why I could never do talk radio. So I've spent 20 years preparing for a career that I'm not going to actually pursue, which has been kind of a mind mess up the last few years. But that audience, I think, through COVID and, you know, I mean, I look at the mask debate and I saw a lot of really good points on all sides.
Yeah.
The vaccination debate, a lot of good points on all sides.
Right.
As opposed to seeing one side.
Right. I think the older you get, like, the more you learn that you don't know that much. You know, like, is the earth flat? We don't know.
Yeah.
I think we all agree in this room.
There's no way to tell.
It's the John Adams quote. It's like John Adams, paraphrasing horribly, but John Adams said, the more I've learned, the less I know. Like, I'm less sure of my own intellect. And so, yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, I have people in my life who are very conspiratorial or even flat earth stuff, like, and I love talking to them because all of a sudden the stuff that I would kind of see being made fun of online, I would understand that point of view and I go, you know, that person was kind of right about a few things 2 years later. You know, and it just makes you less sure of the media, less sure of the podcast you listed, you know, just it's made me more open-minded. And so I think being exposed to different cultures, people, like, that's something that is important for me when we're raising our kids. My parents didn't do the wrong thing. They found the best school system they could and put us in it to give us a great education. But it happened to be monoculture, and I don't think that we're ever going to go back to the 90s. We're never going to have that, like, O.J. Simpson is the only thing everybody's talking about.
Sure.
You'll have the Haktuas where everybody's everybody kind of knows that common thing. Like we still have those.
Yeah.
It's just sort of.
But if you're listening to that this week, you'll know what it is. If you're listening to this 6 months from now,
You
people
won't
won't
remember.
remember
Right.
what it was.
It'll be something else. Every month there's a new meme. Like if I talked about the lady cop from Tennessee, you'd be like, what? You'd be like, she Haktua'd the whole department. Remember that? Yeah. Oh yeah. It's and that's why I never get with politics. You can't do it the same way that you did in 2005 or 2010 even. What matters in the campaign right now and Donald Trump getting indicted and convicted on 34 counts, nobody's going to remember that next week.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, that happened. I forgot. So it's just, I think the future of political talk is trying to understand that fast moving reality as much as it is, and what is real and what is human is going to be more important than who's right. And so I think a lot of at the Chris Spangle show, which is my other podcast, besides the Pat Down, and then you were on Podcasting and Platforms. So those are my 3 shows. But the Chris Spangle show is a little bit of everything, a little bit of kind of talking about some of that stuff, a little bit of just my perspective. And I'm a Christian, I'm a libertarian, I'm skeptical. Like I really look at it and I go, the way you make change, you do it in 3 ways. You do it through government, which is through force, putting a gun to somebody's head, through business. So you're using profit to actually move things along, or you're using compassion, which is civil society. And that's where you and I voluntarily agree that this is a problem that we need to solve. Homelessness in our community is a problem that we need to solve. And then we start working on that. And that process of shared project, like we talked about earlier, makes us all better. And we have moved away. Republicans really focus on business-oriented solutions. Democrats really focus on government-oriented solutions. Neither of those are really working very well. And so we need to get back to what made America great, actually made America great, which was voluntarily cooperating to build these things. Like Methodist Hospital was founded here by local people who were Methodists who said, you know what, we need a children's home, we need a hospital. So let's start one. The library was founded by...
Shout out, that's where I was born, not the library.
And the library? Oh, the Methodist Hospital is the oldest hospital in Indiana.
Yeah.
Still
when
running.
you look at the history of Indianapolis, founded in 1821, 1822, every generation has like this strong push to build nonprofits, to build up strong families, to build up what makes social fabric work to solve problems, and they put politics second. And the Lilly Foundation and other nonprofits, like we have more nonprofits in Indiana than any other state in the nation.
Oh, really?
And that's because of just the way that we think about things. And so I think it'd be a shame if like Hoosiers lost sight of like what makes Indianapolis a great place to live and growing. Like when we have the swim trials or the All-Star game, like arts organizations, restaurants, government, everybody's working together to make that really cool to benefit the whole state.
You still got children putting pennies on Jane Whitcomb's Riley's, deathbed.
We have a library system that's as great as it is because of him, And so, government manages that now, but that impetus was really like the ball got rolling because of people who shared an interest and worked together towards a solution. That to me is libertarianism. It's not everybody's a selfish individual and it's about screwing the other guy out of money. It's how can we find a problem that we care about? You may care about totally different problems than I care about, right? You may care about homelessness and I may care about veteran suicide, right? It's not that our interests are different or worse or better or whatever. It's just that I'm going to go find people who care about the same thing, work together, and then maybe we can do some collaborations here and there. It's just that is what made America great, is that voluntary society that built us into the juggernaut of the world. And what has made us poorer is the growth of government and kind of moving away from that and just trusting government to fix those things, or trusting that crony capitalism can fix everything, and it's sort of like in the Declaration of Independence, eating out our substance. It's taken out the specialness of just if you live in suburban America, it's like, what are you really passionate about? Like,
have you ever thought about running for office yourself?
Never.
No.
I ran for
very passionate.
I think that undermines the message, right? Like, I think if you are running for office saying let's not do any, I think running for office can build you a good platform. Mm-hmm. It can gather a lot of people around you. You can impact and make an impact with messages like that, for sure. But if you get elected, you're not going to make a difference. You may around the edges and on some projects, and maybe you can help get this charity some funding, or, you can kind of vote this way. It's really, I think, a frustrating thing. And I think we have to think beyond government. Government's just too slow. Like, look at the innovation of the cell phone compared to, telecom, like the telephone. It was one way because of, Ma and Pa Bell. Yeah. And then when the tech companies that didn't have much regulation and didn't have much influence, and there wasn't a lot of patent abuse and all that stuff, right? You just innovate, make something really cool. Now we've kind of reached parity. Like, this isn't going to get much more innovative. But I think with AI,
Steve Jobs went up to the cloud.
But I mean, with AI, things are just going to fundamentally change, and we have to have quick ways of thinking. We can't have outmoded thinking, and we have to start thinking about how we organize society in just a fundamentally different way. And the only thing that's ever going to matter is who you know. It's connections, because what you see online isn't going to matter. You don't know if that's real or not anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, in a year, we're going to just be completely confused as to who's what. And so, like, the way that Google was built was based on recommendations. We're going to kind of fold and focus locally because of AI, because I think the human brain just isn't going to trust anything.
Yeah, well, I was talking to AI the other day, and AI said, we got to trust in it. So I think,
right.
Elect an AI official and then move on, because they're not going to steer us wrong.
Yeah, when you see OpenAI say, we're getting rid of our department that checks on the ethics of AI, you're like, all right, maybe Elon Musk has a point that this is all a bad idea.
But they hired some NSA people.
Right. What could go wrong? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Because it needs the government.
Yeah. Would you need more government with the supercomputers?
It's not that, like, government doesn't do good things if you're getting benefits of some sort, like, or your food programs are funded by the federal government. Like, there are good things that government can do. It's just that the more centralized and the more powerful government gets, the more corrupted it becomes. It's a human institution. We're flawed. And so you can buy off OpenAI. You can ban TikTok. You can do these things, and we're not in control anymore. So it undermines the idea of democracy, where we get a say by voting in our representatives. And that just doesn't, I think, have an effect in the same way that it did maybe 40 years ago. We don't really have a say. It's who has the biggest checkbook has the say.
What sucks is that I think there's like a fear in that, like, right? Like, because it's like, hey, it's going to grow so big that we can't control it. But like back in the day, there was this brainwashing thing where everybody believed that if you lived in America, you could build whatever you want if you had a good heart. And that's where, like, the boomers and whatnot, they all pushed, they had a hard work ethic.
Yeah.
But then, like, once, a lot of stuff happened with the millennials, and I could name a whole bunch of things, we started losing faith that we could do anything or lose trust in anything. So I think that's like kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, you had the greatest generation, which had worked in this collaborative project to save humanity from Hitler. And, the Japanese, who were like Team B, but like Hitler's real bad. And so my grandfather was in the Marines, and he went in at 16 or 17. And he went and hung out the VW for the rest of his life. Or not the VW, what's the vehicle? Yeah. Like, all those guys had shared in. So they had trust in institutions. They had trust in that the school system was working, as long as you're white. You had trust in all these institutions. That was sort of the central story. I think a lot of that is that we had a cohesive story. We no longer, as Americans, have that cohesive story. There's no, like, I think, like, the national anthem becomes divisive. We don't all think the same things, and that doesn't mean the same thing to everybody.
Which I'm glad that you stood up when we played it before.
I think like Brittany Griner's like an interesting case. Like, she gets trapped in Russia. America does everything they can to get her back, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm standing for the anthem now. I'm on the Olympic team. Go America."
Yeah,
it's
emotional.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that it's not everybody experiences the goodness of the United States. And I don't mean the government, because the government and the people are different, right? And so we've kind of lost in that by losing that shared story, the goodness of America and the greatness of America and what makes its people special. Things like diversity. this is a country of immigrants. Like, it is made up of people who have different cultures that work together
Can you
towards.
bleep that out?
Yeah, we don't use the D bombs on this show.
Oh, sorry. When all the whites, blacks, and Native Americans got together. Yeah, I mean, I think the future is going to be so overwhelming to people that we have to really think differently. And I think we have to think culturally, because politics is a lagging indicator. Politicians only believe something and do something if culturally it benefits them. And so if we can start to make things that don't work irrelevant, I mean, politics just isn't going to work in the AI age. And so what's fast moving and what works well? It's these voluntary associations that can solve problems on the local level. And I think that's a very like voluntarist, libertarian, anarchist view of how things are. That's just how we're going to end up, because there's no other way to do it. Like, you can't have America and China and Russia all going to war with each other. Like, that's just untenable in this day and age. Like, I guess I should probably not like dismiss the depravity of humans and their capacity for seeing ugliness. Like, we don't really think about Israel or Ukraine because, well, Trump made a joke about electric sharks. So let's talk about that, or Haktua. But I just think the way that we have thought about government as a species for a few thousand years is just going to be outdated in the technological age. So yeah. So just pick a charity and start working. Like, that's the best way to do it, is, take care of your friends, your family, the people that are going to be at your funeral, and spend some time with the charity. And that's the best that we're going to do. Doesn't matter who gets elected. Quit worrying about it.
Yeah. I think most change happens at a small local level. And that's kind of like, the higher you go, the less, anything's actually counted.
Yeah.
So, let's switch gears here.
Sorry to run the show.
No.
You're great.
You're just smarter than like most of our guests.
About halfway through, I started to see your eyes glaze over. You're like,
I was like, am I in trouble?
Mine are rolled back in my head. I was really feeling it.
You invite the libertarian to the party, it's gonna get ruined.
No, it's good. I mean, I feel like I was very similar, and like, obviously I feel like we all get in our like little bubbles and stuff, and I purposely seek out media that is kind of counterintuitive to what, because I want to either hear the best argument on the other side for something, which I don't have a side, but like,
right.
I want to hear the best argument compared to what I would think is, and then try to weigh the two. And like, one of the things I love that is the best about like listening to like different political parties is like, they're really good at finding the flaws in the other political parties. Not always great for their own messaging or whatever, but it's just like, oh, and then it kind of like, yeah, that actually is true about these guys, and this is actually kind of true about. So I do like seeking that out and trying to learn more, but like, at some point it dissolves.
We just have to, as Americans,
overwhelming a little bit.
Build a culture of solving problems with each other and make them irrelevant, because, not to scare everybody, but in 2030, the bills come due on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Will be engulfed in wars with Russia, Iran, and China eventually here in the next decade. And they're doing that to kind of drain us. And so you're going to have neighbors that are going to have their Social Security checks cut by a third automatically in the 2030s. Like, they're going to need food. Like, we can bitch online about all that, but like, you're really going to let your neighbor starve? Like, so I think that's where I look at it and go, these guys are doing exactly what you just said. That's what they care about, is winning by beating the other guy, not by actually solving the problem.
Solving any problems.
Yeah.
And before the impending apocalypse comes in 2030, we'll be celebrating half Christmas here on the Harder Brunch Podcast.
Everybody's real quiet in here. I really ruined this podcast.
You did not.
No, I was like, I've been planning this half Christmas. I was like, when is half Christmas? Like, marked on the calendar.
When is it?
It's Tuesday.
No kidding.
Tuesday, yeah.
It's not July 25th?
Well, it has to be 6 months. It's like 6 months after Christmas. 6 months to the next Christmas.
Oh, so it's in between the 6 months. Okay.
Because
Christmas.
TBS did this Christmas in July thing, which I think confused a lot of people.
Yeah. It's not,
because forever any kind of summertime Christmas
it's
thing
called
has been
Christmas
called
in July.
Christmas in July until we started doing
But half
He's
Christmas.
on the other side.
Half Christmas is
okay.
It's
You're a July acknowledger, aren't you?
I'm a Julyist.
Julyist? I knew it.
Full on.
All right, you guys hold him. I'll kick him.
Thank you.
He's a July supremacist.
Tell me I'm wrong.
One of those 7-monthers. Never mind, that was
Look,
So-
the date of Easter killed many, many, many Europeans 1,000 years ago. I think we can start the same thing here. I think we could do it.
So the idea was to come up with some Christmas themed menu items that had a summertime flavor to them.
Right.
And man, I put a Christmas sweater on my dog, and I feel like I need to really take it off of him now.
It really it changed his behavior. He's been rooting around the cords over here for half of the podcast.
He came and sat under the table and farted.
Oh, you smelled that too?
yeah, I
Thank
did.
you.
Yeah,
I was
it
looking for
wasn't me.
this. By the way, Febreze, if you have a dog that farts under your podcast table, get Febreze. Thank you, Febreze.
Yeah.
They are our sponsors.
So you didn't try any of the nog, right? Because you're a water guy.
Oh no, I had a lot of one. I had most of the nog.
You
I
drank-
had probably half the bottle. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's
a
a
big
full-
nog guy.
He's a full nogger.
Yeah.
full nogger.
Right.
Full on nogger.
Can we not use the hard R, please?
We're not calling the podcast that. I can already see Zach's gears turning. Yep, that's it.
Look, I can't lose season 3. No.
So yeah, you liked it?
I
then?
loved everything. Yeah. At one point during the gelatinous appetizer, I guess,
Yeah.
Thad looks over and goes, "Hey, slow down." I was going on like my 4th piece of bread. I was on my like 4th or 5th piece of bread, and he could smell the diabetes, and he's like, "Maybe not so many carbs, fat boy."
I was worried.
Yeah.
Well, that is a warning of love, just because we've traditionally we've cut down the amount of courses that we serve. We used to do like 5 or 6. And
wild.
people, like, by the end, people were getting mad. Like, we would like bring. Sometimes we'd bring out dessert, and then there would be like a surprise course after dessert.
Yeah.
It'd be like, here's ice cream, and now ribs. What? People were angry.
There are less complaints now since we like cut
It's
down.
wild.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys intentionally did it, but the jellied ham with bread. The jellied ham was ham and pickles and capers in like some sort of gelatinous chicken thing, stock, right? Yeah. And it looked like the Jell-O on the Christmas Vacation movie.
Oh yeah.
With the cat vomit on it.
That's exactly
what
what
it
it
was.
looked like. Vomit.
What did you think about it, Thad?
It looked like vomit.
How did it taste for
It
you?
looked like vomit.
How did you have it yet? Did you eat it?
Have you done that thing? Like, there's a science experiment. When you look at something, your brain tells you what it's going to taste like.
Oh, so you didn't try any of it?
I did not enjoy it.
I look, I'm not a culinary adventurist. Like, I eat SpaghettiOs and like microwave burritos. That's like my diet.
Sure.
And when it sat down in front of me, I was like, "Oh, what
Yeah.
the fuck did I do here,
Yeah,
man?"
yeah.
And it was actually pretty good. I liked it. On the
What?
bread. Yeah, I liked it.
So-
The consistency, I think, messed the table up, though.
But here's the thing: you shouldn't serve things that make people want to leave.
That's first, like, at least, foreplay me into it.
Yeah.
Like, the third course.
Yeah, you
but-
got to drop it off in the middle. That's when you hit it with the gelatin.
Yeah.
Ten had like almost vomited it out when she put it in her mouth.
Yeah, there were people that were having.
The ham
Diverse
jelly, you
experiences.
perverts.
Yeah, it
I was so excited when he texted over that he was serving ham gelatin with bread. That's what I got for the menu description. And so I'm like, yeah, you lead with that.
But was it a joke course? It's okay if it was.
No, Chris liked it. That's all that mattered.
Are you
He'd
playing a
be
joke on
nice.
white people?
No.
Are you making fun of your white friend?
No, there's
And he's too clueless to know.
Look, here's the thing. We cook different foods every week.
Sometimes we do jokes.
and sometimes you gotta challenge yourself and do stuff. There was a time when like that kind of stuff was served at every party.
Yeah, the
Okay.
60s.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, the 60s and 50s.
Right.
And so it does have like a Christmas kind of element to it. I saw the colors of it. It's really nice. And like there are like very high end is just like, I can understand if I make a nice terrine for somebody.
Yeah.
They'll be like, it tastes like pork pudding. I don't like this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I get it. And it's a valid response, but it's like, if you don't take big swings, then you don't get to try new things. And it's like, I made it and I was just like, you know what? That tasted about exactly like it didn't taste bad. I was like, this tasted exactly what I thought it would.
I had the exact right amount.
But like,
had it been any more, I would have.
I stopped you.
It's one of those things where it's just like, I'm not mad if the normal person looks at that and goes like, that's not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna hurt my feelings.
Did you say half the table ate it?
Yeah, half the table ate.
Oh, I look at everyone's plates for every meal when it comes. Like, I know who eats what.
We keep a scoreboard in back.
I was surprised about how much I did not hate it, and like so that was a good thing for me.
Because you would have thought the opposite from you describing it now. You asked Dyke if it was a joke course.
Well, here's the thing: like Dyke can make something that looks like bad. Like I've seen him just put brown on the plate, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, he is.
And then it's like really good, and it's really tasteful. But like if you're listening into this, it looks like that yummy video from Justin Bieber where like they are like serving like these like grotesque gelatin. Just look up that.
It
Justin
did look
Bieber.
messed up.
Yeah,
it did, but it was good.
looked like the yummy.
And the next
jello.
course was Zach's was the green bean casserole.
So I was doing a take on green bean casserole. I made it into a salad. I made a mushroom vinaigrette to dress the greens with, and then I did 4 kinds of green beans on there. There were snow peas, sugar snap peas, green beans from the farmer's market, and then some bean sprouts. I'm
going to be honest. I can't stand green bean casserole. So when I sat down and saw the menu, I was like, what is going on here?
You read it.
Miss, potential. Can't go wrong with fruit. But I really liked the first one, and yours was great. The vinaigrette was really solid. Like, it was like just, it was alive in my mouth.
Oh, you thought it was going to come out like creamy, like
yeah,
like a gravy.
Yeah. I was like, but it was really good. And even the French onions, I was like, that's the part that always gets me.
I fried them fresh.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, it didn't taste like Funyuns or whatever the French onion thing crinkles. It was really tasty.
And it was a good palate cleanser. I feel like
yeah,
got all that gelatin out of your mouth.
yeah.
You have a light salad, and you're like, okay, we're not.
Yeah, you went
just
heavy,
crazy foods.
light, which I thought was very good.
And then the next course was the Zach.
I did half Christmas glazed spare ribs. So I did like an orange and rosemary and cherry glaze that I made with like Christmas spices, like allspice and cinnamon and ginger and stuff. And then I made the puree out of rutabaga. I had rutabaga. It also had cream, butter, and then some brie cheese chunks in there.
That one.
Was that it for you?
Whatever that was, it was great.
Yeah. The rutabaga puree.
Yeah.
That was the highlight for me.
It was really good.
Yeah. I was just like, can I have a bowl of this? This is really good.
It was magic.
It was like gritsy, but it was, I don't know. It was like, I've never had rutabaga before. What is a rutabaga?
So it's a root vegetable. It's really waxy on the outside. It's kind of yellowish, and as you cook it, it gets more gold looking, kind of almost orange. It's really, really hard as a root. Like I had trouble, I had to, crack it almost before boiling it. But yeah, I had done it before. I'd used it in small amounts. I'd never used it just straight up. And yeah, I was very happy with how it turned out. It tastes a little bit different than other starches, but I mean, you put enough cream and butter in anything and it's good.
Yeah, the glaze on the ribs seemed to be the favorite. That and the rutabaga stuff.
And then the dessert course was the fruit Christmas tree with the Honey Creek yogurt. It was pretty straightforward. I had these grand ideas of doing this cute Etsy thing and making it look like a Christmas tree, and it all fell apart on me. I was just like, here's a pineapple.
But see, that was great because it was like light, and it was a palate. Like everybody at the table was like, that was just right. Because if you had come with like a heavy bread pudding or something after ribs,
still would have ate it.
we would have eaten it, but I would feel gross right now. Now I'm ready to run a marathon. Watch me.
Yeah.
Yeah, people ate way more of it than I was kind of expecting. I was actually pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, everything but the grape. Nobody had a single grape.
Oh, really?
But
not a big grape crowd.
No, but the kiwi went fast.
Yeah, grapes are kind of overplayed though. Everybody has grapes at their house.
Right. That's like a toddler food now. It's like I'm grown up. I need a pineapple.
Yeah. I need a kiwi.
I'm not a huge melon fan. If there's melon I only want one. You know what I'm saying? Like when I see like a cantaloupe, honeydew, and watermelon together, I'm like, get out of here.
Nobody eats honeydew.
We don't need that.
So I will say, like, if I'm buying a melon and cut it, I'll eat the whole thing. Like
Rind and all.
Rind and all. Whether it's a watermelon honeydew or I think it's almost just like the pre-mixed honeydew and cantaloupe that give it such a bad name.
Yeah.
Because
those are always so flavorless and hard anyway.
Yeah.
Like the grocery store melon pack is not good.
Nope.
Like the cantaloupe never tastes like a great Southern Indiana cantaloupe in August.
Yeah.
Can you drop a beat for me there, Sauce Boss? Chris Spangle, thank you so much for being on the program today. I feel like we could easily do another hour with you.
Let's do it.
Tell the people where they can find you and follow you on social media.
Chris-Spangle.com to find all my different podcasts and shows and all that stuff.
Thanks. Thaddaeus Jake.
Thaddaeus Mckee. You can find me at Thad Mckee on Instagram and all other social medias.
Zach Roan.
You can find me at Zach_Roan on all social media.
Casey Campbell.
You can find me at the Harder Brunch Summer Camp this year. That's going to be August 23rd through the 25th. Look us up on Eventbrite. You can also find me doing weird things and bothering people on Instagram at Danger Brewer.
At Dyke Michaels across all social media. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Harder Brunch. We have a vast library of all that stuff that we said behind the paywall during the pandemic when I thought the world was going to end. Ooh. You can get the fresh tips directly from the horse's ass. So
fresh tips from the horse's ass. What?
You were about to
That's
land
where we're going.
You were about to
I
land
like that, and I'm going to steal that.
we'll see you next time. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.